Albert Fish's life was a winding descent into madness, cruelty and horrors so twisted that even investigators struggled to speak of them without trembling. Albert Fish was born in Washington, D.C. in 1870, raised inside a collapsing family plagued with mental illness. From childhood, he was drawn to pain the way others are drawn to warmth. He learned to enjoy it. He fed on it. As he grew older, that hunger quietly spread, like mold moving through dark walls, slow, silent, unstoppable. He became a wanderer, drifting from town to town, blending into communities like a passing shadow. Parents didn't notice him. Neighbors barely remembered him. That was his power. He looked fragile, harmless, a thin old man with soft eyes and a polite smile. But behind that frail mask lived a nightmare in human skin. In the 1920s, Fish's dark cravings intensified. He prowled the streets of New York, watching children from a distance, memorizing their habits the way predators memorize the pulse of prey. He believed pain was a gift, that suffering purifies the soul. He once told police he had been chosen to deliver that suffering. The case that finally exposed him began in 1928 with the disappearance of a 10-year-old girl named Grace Budd. Her family had trusted him, this soft-spoken old man who pretended to hire Grace's brother for work. Instead, he lured Grace away with a gentle smile, convincing her parents he was taking her to a harmless birthday party. She walked away holding his hand, not knowing she was stepping into a nightmare crafted by decades of madness. For 6 long years, her family received no answers. Then a letter arrived, shaking the Budd household, shaking New York City, shaking the world. It was written by Fish himself, a confession dripping with evil, describing in chilling detail how he had taken Grace. That letter became the key. Investigators traced the envelope, followed the clues, and closed in on Fish. When they found him in a cheap rented room, he didn't run. He didn't fight. He simply raised his head and smiled as if the police had arrived late to a dinner he'd been expecting for years. In questioning, Fish spoke with a calm, almost polite tone, explaining his crimes as if describing the weather. Detectives later said the most terrifying part wasn't his words, but the serenity with which he delivered them. The court found him sane enough to be executed, but psychiatrists said he was one of the most disturbed minds ever recorded. A labyrinth of delusions, desires, and cruelty. During his final moments in the electric chair in 1936, Fish whispered something that froze the room. He said the execution would be the ultimate thrill. With that, the current surged, and the man known as the Gray Man, the Brooklyn Vampire, and the boogeyman of America finally disappeared into the darkness